The alarm bells rang across Kepler Station as another explosion shook the massive structure. Commander Lisa Martinez gripped the rail of the command center while sparks flew from damaged control panels around her. Through the thick windows, she could see the alien ships floating in space like dark metal mountains, their weapons firing bright beams that cut through the station's outer defenses. "Shield generators are down to 30%, called out Captain Jake Morrison from his post at the security station. His voice stayed calm, but Lisa could see the worry in his eyes. They had been fighting for 6 hours now, and the enemy seemed to have endless weapons and power. The Vorthan Empire had come without warning. Their 12 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace and immediately began attacking. Each alien vessel was the size of a small city, covered in gun ports and armor, plating that gleamed like black metal. The humans had never seen ships this large or this deadly. Dr. Helen Burke worked frantically at the communications console, trying to send a distress signal through the interference the aliens were creating. "I can't get anything through," she said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "They're jamming everything on all frequencies." Lisa watched the tactical display showing the battle. 3 orbital defense platforms had already been destroyed, their pieces floating in space like broken toys. The station's own weapons were doing almost nothing against the alien shields. Every shot they fired just bounced off harmlessly, while the enemy beams cut through their defenses like hot knives through butter. "How many people do we have in the emergency shelters?" Lisa asked. 48,000 civilians and about 2,000 crew, Jake answered. "The shelters can protect them from small attacks, but not from what these aliens are throwing at us." The station shook again as another alien beam hit the outer hull. Lisa could hear the metal groaning under the stress. Kepler's station had been built to mine the rich asteroid fields around the star, not to fight a war. It had basic shields and a few defensive guns, but nothing that could stand up to a real military attack. Captain Ruth Baker's voice came over the radio from her transport ship. "Commander, I've got my ship loaded with evacuees, but there's nowhere to run. Those alien ships are blocking every escape route." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment. She had trained for emergencies, but never imagined anything like this. The Vorthan Empire had been expanding across this part of space for months, destroying human colonies and taking their resources. Intelligence reports said they viewed humans as weak creatures who had no right to claim planets in what they considered their territory. "Lieutenant Danny Rogers, what's our tactical situation?" she asked the young officer at the sensor station. "Not good, Commander. The aliens have us completely surrounded. Their ships are positioned to cover every possible escape vector. Each of their vessels has firepower equivalent to our entire defense fleet." Dr. Burke looked up from her console. "I'm picking up a transmission from the alien flagship. They're trying to communicate." "Put it on the main screen," Lisa ordered. The display flickered and showed the face of what could only be an alien commander. The creature had gray skin, large dark eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the universal translator made its words understandable but couldn't hide the cold hatred in its voice. "I am Admiral Kyle Patterson of the Vorthan 5th Fleet. You will surrender this facility immediately and prepare for relocation. Your species has expanded into territory that belongs to the Vorthan Empire. This aggression will not be tolerated." Lisa stepped forward. "This is Commander Lisa Martinez of Kepler Station. We are peaceful miners working on legally claimed territory. We have families here, including children. Surely we can reach some kind of agreement." The alien's laugh was like grinding metal. "Your laws mean nothing to us. You have 1 hour to evacuate all personnel to your transport ships. We will then take possession of this facility. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your station and everyone aboard." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence except for the sound of damage control teams working to repair systems. Lisa looked around at her crew. These were good people who had come here to build a new life among the stars. Many had brought their families, believing they were far enough from the war zones to be safe. "Commander, what are your orders?" Jake asked quietly. Lisa studied the tactical display again. The alien ships had them completely trapped. Even if they could get the civilians to the transport ships, the Vorthon vessels could destroy them easily before they reached hyperspace. Fighting was hopeless with their limited weapons. Surrendering meant trusting aliens who had already destroyed 3 other colonies. "Keep working on the communications array," she told Dr. Burke. "Maybe we can get a message through to Fleet Command." "Even if we could, help is days away," Danny said from his station. "I know," Lisa replied, "but we have to try everything." The minutes ticked by as the crew worked desperately to find some way out of their situation. Outside the windows, the alien ships waited like patient predators, their weapons trained on the station. In 53 minutes, Admiral Patterson would expect an answer. Lisa wondered if she was about to make the last decision of her life. The countdown continued as repair teams worked to fix what they could. Lisa watched the tactical display showing the alien fleet in perfect formation around the station. Each massive ship held position with military precision, their weapons ready to fire at the first sign of resistance. 42 minutes remaining, Jake announced, his voice tight with stress. Dr. Burke had managed to restore partial communications, but still couldn't break through the alien jamming. "I'm getting some signals from the outer system, but nothing from Fleet Command or any human ships." Lisa paced the command center, her mind racing through options that all led to the same conclusion. They were trapped with no way out and no help coming. The civilians in the emergency shelters trusted her to find a solution, but the laws of physics and military reality offered no hope. "Commander, I'm detecting a spatial distortion," Danny called out suddenly from his sensor station. "Something big is coming out of hyperspace." All eyes turned to the main display as space itself seemed to bend and twist. The distortion was unlike anything in the standard navigation manuals. Most ships created small ripples when they dropped from hyperspace, but this was more like a tear in reality itself. "Distance and bearing," Lisa ordered. 200,000 kilometers, bearing 37 Mark II. Whatever it is, it's huge. The distortion collapsed, and something emerged that made everyone in the command center stop breathing. A ship appeared, but not like any vessel in the human fleet. It was dark, angular, and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The hull looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black metal with no visible joints or construction marks. "Size estimate?" Lisa asked, unable to take her eyes off the mysterious vessel. "Approximately 800 meters long, but the sensors are having trouble getting accurate readings. The hull composition is showing up as unknown materials." Jake studied his tactical display with growing amazement. "Commander, the energy readings from that ship don't make sense. It's showing power generation levels that should be impossible for something that size." Dr. Burke tried to scan the vessel with every instrument available. "I can't identify the technology. The power signature suggests they're using some kind of energy source we've never seen before." The alien fleet immediately responded to the new arrival. Admiral Patterson's flagship turned its massive guns toward the unknown ship while the other vessels adjusted their formation. Lisa could see weapon ports opening across the Vorthon fleet as they prepared to engage what they assumed was either human reinforcement or another species interfering in their conquest. "They're hailing the new ship," Dr. Burke reported. "The aliens are demanding identification and ordering it to withdraw immediately." The mysterious vessel maintained course directly toward the center of the alien formation. It moved with impossible smoothness, as if the normal laws of physics didn't apply to its propulsion system. There was no visible engine exhaust or energy signature that would indicate how it was moving. "Try to contact them," Lisa ordered. "Maybe they're here to help." Dr. Burke sent out communication signals on every frequency, but received only silence. The dark ship continued its approach, seemingly oblivious to both the human attempts at contact and the alien threats. Communications Officer Amy Collins had been quiet during the crisis, but now spoke up from her station. "Commander, I'm trying to analyze their transmission patterns. There's something strange about their signal protocol." "What do you mean?" It's using human encryption standards, but with modifications I've never seen, like someone took our technology and improved it, far beyond current capabilities. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. A human ship with impossible technology arriving at exactly the moment when they needed help most. It was either the greatest coincidence in history or something else entirely. Lieutenant Tony Garcia from the security section was studying the vessel through the optical scanners. Commander, there are no identification markings visible anywhere on the hull. No registry numbers, no fleet designations, nothing. The alien flagship fired a warning shot that streaked across space toward the mysterious ship. The beam struck the dark hull and simply vanished, absorbed completely without any sign of impact or damage. There was no explosion, no energy discharge, nothing to indicate the alien weapon had hit anything at all. "Did you see that?" Jake whispered. "The shot just disappeared," Danny confirmed, checking his instruments twice. "Whatever kind of shielding that ship has, it's beyond anything in our technology database." Admiral Patterson's voice came over the communication system again, but this time he was speaking to the unknown vessel. "Unidentified ship, you are interfering in Vorthon military operations. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." The dark ship continued its steady approach without responding. It was now less than 50,000 kilometers from the alien fleet, and closing rapidly. Lisa could see the Vorthan vessels turning to bring their main weapons to bear on the newcomer. "All alien ships are powering up their primary weapon systems," Danny reported. "They're preparing for a full attack." Dr. Burke looked up from her console with excitement in her voice. "Commander, I'm getting a response from the unknown ship." "Put it through." The main display showed only darkness at first, then a figure emerged from the shadows. It was definitely human. A man in his 40s wearing a uniform that looked military but bore no recognizable insignia. His face was calm and confident, showing no concern about the massive alien fleet surrounding him. "This is Commander Nick Adams of the vessel Herald. Kepler Station, please stand by." The transmission ended before anyone could respond. Lisa stared at the dark screen, trying to process what she had just heard. A human commander in an impossible ship that had appeared from nowhere at their moment of greatest need. 38 minutes until the alien deadline, Jake announced quietly. Lisa realized they were about to witness something that would either save them all or get them killed in the crossfire of a battle they couldn't understand. Admiral Patterson's patience ran out as the dark ship continued to ignore his warnings. The alien fleet opened fire with everything they had, 12 massive dreadnoughts unleashing their combined firepower on the mysterious vessel called Herald. Plasma. Beams bright enough to blind unprotected eyes streaked across space toward the human ship. Quantum torpedoes that could crack a moon followed behind waves of antimatter charges. The sheer amount of energy being thrown at the Herald should have vaporized it instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. Every weapon strike simply vanished when it hit the Herald's hull. The plasma beams disappeared like water soaking into sand. The torpedoes struck and produced no explosion at all. Even the antimatter charges, weapons that converted matter directly into energy, had no effect whatsoever. "This is impossible," Dr. Burke whispered, staring at her instruments. "Those weapons should have destroyed anything made of normal matter." The Herald continued its approach, moving through the storm of alien fire as if nothing was happening. Its dark hull showed no damage, no energy discharge, no sign that it was even being attacked. Whatever technology protected the ship was so far beyond current understanding that it might as well have been magic. Commander Lisa Martinez gripped the rail tighter as she watched the engagement. "Are our sensors working correctly?" "I've run 3 diagnostics," Danny replied from his station. "Everything checks out. That ship is somehow absorbing every attack without taking any damage at all." Captain Jake Morrison studied the tactical display with growing amazement. The energy readings don't make sense. It's like their hull is connected to some kind of unlimited power source. The Herald finally responded to the alien attack. Weapon ports opened along its sleek hull, but these were unlike anything in human or alien technology. Instead of traditional gun barrels or energy projectors, geometric patterns of light appeared on the ship's surface. When the Herald fired, beams of pure energy lanced out with surgical precision. Each shot found its target instantly, as if the weapon somehow knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. The beams moved faster than anything should be able to travel, reaching their targets before defensive systems could even register the attack. The first Vorthan dreadnought took a hit directly to its main reactor. The massive ship shuddered as its power core began to overload. Internal explosions rippled along its hull as critical systems failed in cascade fashion. Within seconds, the vessel that had seemed indestructible was breaking apart from the inside. "One shot," Jake said in disbelief. "One shot took out their flagship." The Herald's weapons continued firing with mechanical precision. Each beam found critical weak points in the alien ships, striking reactor cores, weapon systems, and structural joints with impossible accuracy. The Vorthan vessels, which had seemed so powerful and threatening minutes before, began to collapse under the precise bombardment. Captain Ruth Baker's voice came over the radio from her transport ship. "Command, are you seeing this? That ship is tearing through the alien fleet like they're made of paper." Lieutenant Tony Garcia was trying to track the engagement with his security sensors, but found his equipment inadequate. "Commander, the energy levels being used are off the scale. My instruments can't measure what that ship is doing." The Herald moved through space with fluid grace, dodging return fire that never came close to hitting it. The ship seemed to predict where the aliens would aim and was already somewhere else when their weapons fired. It was like watching a dancer moving through a crowd of clumsy opponents. Admiral Patterson's ship, the massive carrier called Dominion's Fist, attempted to escape. Its engines flared to life as the alien commander tried to reach hyperspace and flee the battle. The Herald responded by firing a beam that somehow disrupted subspace itself, cutting off the alien ship's escape route. "How is that possible?" Dr. Burke asked, staring at her readings. "They're affecting hyperspace directly. That would require technology centuries ahead of anything we know." The Dominion's Fist shuddered as its hyperspace engines overloaded and exploded. The massive vessel began to drift helplessly as its primary systems failed one by one. Emergency. Pods began launching from the alien ship as its crew abandoned what was clearly a lost cause. Communications Officer Amy Collins was monitoring the alien transmissions. "Commander, I'm picking up panic signals from the Vorthan ships. They're calling for immediate reinforcements and reporting contact with unknown human technology." Lisa watched in stunned silence as the engagement continued. 3 minutes had passed since the Herald first fired, and 8 of the 12 alien dreadnoughts were already destroyed or disabled. The remaining Vorthan vessels were trying to retreat, but found their engines mysteriously failing whenever they attempted to jump to hyperspace. The Herald's weapons fired again, striking the remaining alien ships with the same surgical precision. Each beam found exactly the right spot to cause maximum damage while minimizing the chance of debris hitting Kepler Station. It was clear that whoever was controlling those weapons had calculated every shot to protect the civilian facility. 4 minutes, Jake announced, timing the engagement. In 4 minutes, they've destroyed the entire Vorthan Fifth Fleet. The last alien dreadnought suffered a catastrophic reactor breach and began breaking apart. Its hull cracked like an eggshell, as internal explosions tore through every deck. Within moments, all that remained was an expanding cloud of debris where moments before had been a ship capable of destroying planets. The Herald ceased fire and hung motionless in space, surrounded by the wreckage of what had been one of the most powerful military forces in known space. Not a single Vorthan vessel remained combat-capable. Those crew members who had managed to escape in pods were now floating helplessly in space, their mighty fleet reduced to scrap metal and radiation. The command center of Kepler Station was completely silent except for the hum of life support systems. Every person present was trying to process what they had just witnessed. An entire alien armada, ships that had seemed invincible just minutes before, had been utterly destroyed by a single human vessel. "Commander," Danny said quietly, "I'm reading total destruction of all hostile vessels. No active weapons, no operational ships, no threat remaining." Lisa stared at the tactical display showing empty space where the alien fleet had been. The Herald floated alone among the debris like a dark angel of judgment, its impossible weapons now silent. The silence in the command center stretched for long minutes as everyone tried to understand what they had witnessed. Commander Lisa Martinez stared at the tactical display showing nothing but debris where moments before an entire alien fleet had threatened to destroy them all. Security Chief Tony Garcia was the first to speak. "Commander, I'm scanning the wreckage field. No intact vessels, no active weapon systems, no signs of organized resistance remaining." Dr. Helen Burke ran her hands through her hair, looking exhausted and amazed at the same time. "The energy readings I recorded during that engagement are impossible according to everything we know about physics. That ship was using power levels that should require the output of a small star." Captain Jake Morrison checked his instruments, again, unable to believe the readings. Total engagement time was exactly 4 minutes and 18 seconds. 12 dreadnoughts completely destroyed or disabled. I've never seen anything like it in 20 years of military service. The Herald remained motionless among the wreckage, its dark hull reflecting no light. It seemed to be waiting for something, though no one could guess what. The ship that had just demonstrated godlike power now hung silent in space like a patient guardian. Communications Officer Amy Collins worked frantically at her console. "Commander, I'm trying to re-establish contact with the Herald, but they're not responding to any of our signals." Lisa made a decision. "Keep trying. We need to know who they are and why they helped us." Lieutenant Danny Rogers was studying the aftermath through the optical scanners. "Commander, some of the alien escape pods are still intact. I count maybe 30 survivors out of crews that probably numbered in the thousands. Any of them sending distress signals? A few emergency beacons, but no attempt to contact us or make demands. I think they're too shocked to do anything but try to stay alive." Dr. Burke looked up from her analysis of the sensor data. "Lisa, I've been going over the weapon signatures from that engagement. The Herald was using directed energy systems that operate on principles we don't understand. The precision was beyond anything our computers could calculate." Captain Ruth Baker's voice came over the communication system from her transport ship. "Command, my passengers are asking what just happened. How do I explain that a single ship destroyed an entire enemy fleet in 4 minutes?" Lisa realized she had no answer to that question. The Herald had appeared from nowhere, demonstrated technology that seemed decades or centuries ahead of anything humans possessed, and saved 50,000 lives without any explanation of who they were or where they came from. "Tell them the truth," she finally replied. "Tell them we were saved by a human ship with capabilities we don't understand." Chief Engineer Sam Johnson had been analyzing the debris field and now reported his findings. "Commander, the damage patterns on those alien ships are unlike anything I've seen. The Herald's weapons didn't just destroy systems, they somehow disrupted the molecular bonds holding the hull plating together." "What does that mean?" "It means their technology can manipulate matter at the atomic level. That's not just advanced weaponry, that's control over the fundamental forces of nature." The implications of Sam's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. If humans possessed technology that advanced, why had colonies been falling to alien attacks? Why were people dying when ships like the Herald existed? Amy Collins suddenly straightened at her communication console. "Commander, I'm getting a response from the Herald. They're requesting permission to dock with our main bay." Lisa felt her heart rate increase. "Grant permission. Full security escort to the docking bay." "Ma'am, with respect, what kind of security? Do you think could handle people who can build ships like that?" She realized Tony was right. If the crew of the Herald wanted to harm them, no amount of security would make any difference. You're right. Cancel the security escort. I'll meet them personally. Jake looked concerned. Commander, maybe we should wait and see what they want first. They just saved our lives, Jake. The least we can do is show them proper courtesy. The Herald moved with the same impossible grace it had shown during the battle, approaching Kepler Station's main docking bay with precision that suggested either computer control or piloting skills beyond human capability. As it drew closer, Lisa could see details of its construction that made no sense according to current engineering principles. The hull shows no welding marks, no construction joints, no evidence of how it was built, Sam reported, studying the approaching vessel. It's like someone grew the entire ship from a single piece of material. Dr. Burke was still analyzing the energy readings. During the approach, I'm detecting gravitational fluctuations around their ship. They might be using some form of gravity manipulation for propulsion. That's theoretical technology that shouldn't exist for another century, Danny said from his station. Everything about that ship shouldn't exist, Burke replied. But here it is. The Herald settled into the docking bay with mechanical precision, its landing legs extending to support the vessel's weight. Lisa could see through the observation windows that the ship was even more impressive up close. The hull surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal while somehow remaining solid. Docking complete, Amy announced. They're requesting permission to disembark. Lisa took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. She was about to meet the people who had just redefined what was possible in space combat. Permission granted. I'll meet them at the airlock. As she left the command center, Lisa wondered what kind of people could build and operate technology that seemed almost magical. The Herald had appeared at their darkest moment and effortlessly destroyed threats. That had seemed impossible to overcome. Now she was about to learn whether humanity's mysterious guardians were friends or something else entirely. The corridors of Kepler Station seemed different now, filled with the quiet conversations of people who had just witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. Children who had been hiding in emergency shelters were now asking their parents about the dark ship that had saved them. Lisa reached the main airlock and waited, trying to prepare herself for whatever was about to happen next. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Lisa Martinez stood at attention, uncertain what protocol applied when meeting the crew of an impossible ship that had just saved 50,000 lives. She had prepared herself for advanced technology, unusual uniforms, maybe even physical modifications that would explain their incredible capabilities. Instead, Commander Nick Adams stepped through the airlock looking completely human and surprisingly ordinary. He was tall, perhaps 40 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes that suggested someone accustomed to wielding enormous power. His uniform was clearly military, but bore no rank insignia or unit markings that Lisa recognized. Behind him came two other crew members who looked equally normal. A woman with short brown hair who moved with the confident stride of a veteran officer, and a younger man whose alert expression suggested he was responsible for ship security. They could have been any human military personnel except for the quiet confidence that seemed to radiate from all three. Commander Martinez, Adams said with a slight smile, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I know this situation raises many questions. Lisa found her voice and managed to respond professionally. Commander Adams, on behalf of Kepler Station and our 50,000 residents, thank you for your assistance. Your intervention saved countless lives. That was the intention, Adams replied simply. May we speak privately? There are things you need to understand about what happened here today. She led them to a small conference room near the docking bay, her mind racing with questions she hardly knew how to ask. These people looked completely human, but they commanded technology that seemed centuries ahead of anything in known space. Once they were seated, Adams spoke first. I'm sure you're wondering who we are and where the Herald came from. The answers are both simpler and more complex than you might expect. Start with simple, Lisa replied. We're human, born on Earth, trained in human military academies, serving human interests. The Herald is a product of human engineering and human science, built in human shipyards by human workers. Lisa stared at him. That's impossible. The technology your ship demonstrated doesn't exist in any human space force. Not in any public space force, the woman corrected, speaking for the first time. I'm Captain Sarah Mitchell, Chief Science Officer of the Herald. What you witnessed today represents humanity's true military capability. The younger man introduced himself as Lieutenant Kevin Brown, Head of Security. Commander Martinez, how much do you know about the Deep Space Defense Initiative? I've heard rumors, nothing official. Some kind of black operations program that supposedly doesn't exist. Adams nodded slowly. The rumors are correct in one sense and completely wrong in another. The Deep Space Defense Initiative does exist, but it's not a small black ops program. It's humanity's primary defense against extinction. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Extinction? Captain Mitchell leaned forward. When humans first made contact with alien civilizations 15 years ago, we learned some disturbing facts. Most of the galaxy views us as a young, weak species that expanded too quickly into territory claimed by older powers. Several major empires had already made plans to eliminate human colonies and divide our space among themselves. The Vorthan Empire was just one of 6 major powers that considered humanity a problem to be solved, Adams continued. Intelligence. Reports indicated that coordinated attacks were being planned against Earth itself. Lieutenant Brown pulled out a small device that projected a holographic star map. Red markers indicate confirmed hostile alien empires. Yellow shows species that are neutral but might side with attackers if they think we're losing. Green represents our actual allies. Lisa studied the map and felt her heart sink. The red markers vastly outnumbered the green ones, surrounding human space like a closing net. This makes it look like we're completely surrounded. We are, Adams confirmed, which is why the Defense Initiative was created. Humanity's survival depends on convincing our enemies that attacking us would be too costly to attempt. The Herald is one of 12 ships like it, Mitchell explained. Each vessel is capable of engaging entire enemy fleets independently. The technology combines breakthrough advances in materials, science, energy manipulation, and weapons systems. Lisa tried to process this information. If we have ships this powerful, why are colonies still falling to alien attacks? Why haven't you intervened before? Because intervention reveals capability, Brown replied. Every time we act openly, we give potential enemies more information about our true strength. The Defense Initiative operates on the principle that our greatest weapon is the enemy's uncertainty about what we can actually do. Adams stood and walked to the window overlooking the debris field where the Vorthan fleet had been destroyed. Today's engagement was carefully calculated. We allowed the Vorthan Empire to believe they were facing typical human defenses, then demonstrated overwhelming superiority in a way that would be impossible to ignore or explain away. The entire engagement was designed for maximum psychological impact, Mitchell added. 4 minutes was long enough to ensure any observers could record and analyze what happened, but short enough to demonstrate that we were holding back rather than using our full capabilities. Lisa began to understand the implications. You're saying this was as much about sending a message as it was about saving us? Exactly. Within hours, reports of this engagement will reach every major power in the galaxy. They'll know that humanity possesses military technology far beyond what they had estimated. Lieutenant Brown manipulated the holographic display to show communication networks. We're already detecting increased diplomatic traffic between hostile empires. Several species that were planning coordinated attacks are now requesting emergency meetings to discuss the human situation. What happens next? Lisa asked. Adams returned to his seat. That depends partly on you and the people of Kepler Station. The official story is that an unidentified human warship of unknown origin appeared and destroyed the Vorthon fleet. No details about the Herald's capabilities or the defense initiative can be revealed. You want us to lie about what we witnessed? We want you to limit your reports to observable facts while avoiding speculation about technology or origins, Mitchell clarified. The more mysterious we remain, the more our enemies will overestimate our capabilities. Lisa realized the genius of their strategy. By remaining hidden, the defense initiative forced hostile aliens to assume the worst-case scenario when planning attacks on human targets. Fear of the unknown was often more powerful than fear of known threats. How many people know the truth about the defense initiative? Very few, Adams replied. Most of humanity believes we're defended by conventional space forces. Even most military personnel don't know about ships like the Herald. Why are you telling me this? Because today's events make Kepler Station important. You've seen what happens when humanity's real defenses are revealed. That knowledge comes with responsibility. Lisa understood that her life had just become much more complicated. She was now part of a secret that could determine humanity's survival in a hostile galaxy. Commander Adams activated another holographic display that showed detailed technical specifications of the Herald. Lisa stared at designs that challenged everything she thought she knew about engineering and physics. The Herald uses zero-point energy extraction, Captain Mitchell explained, pointing to what looked like a crystalline core in the ship's center. We're literally drawing power from the vacuum of space itself. That's why our energy output seems impossible by conventional standards. Lieutenant Brown highlighted the weapon systems. Our directed energy arrays don't just fire beams of particles or plasma. They manipulate the fundamental forces that hold matter together. We can disrupt molecular bonds, alter gravitational fields, or even temporarily modify the laws of physics in a localized area. Lisa studied the specifications with growing amazement. This technology should take centuries to develop. How did humans advance so quickly? We had help, Adams replied simply. Not from other species, but from humanity's greatest asset, our ability to think differently than everyone else in the galaxy. Mitchell leaned back in her chair. Most alien civilizations develop technology along predictable paths. They improve existing systems gradually over thousands of years. Humans approach problems from completely different angles. For example, Brown added, most species tried to build bigger reactors to generate more power. Humans asked why we needed reactors at all when empty space contains unlimited energy. Adams pulled up another display showing comparative technology trees. While other species spent millennia perfecting plasma weapons, human scientists asked whether the weapons themselves were the real limitation. What if we could make the target destroy itself instead? Lisa began to understand the scope of what she was seeing. You're not just using advanced technology. You're using completely different scientific principles. Exactly. The defense initiative isn't just about building better ships. It's about approaching warfare from angles that alien minds literally cannot comprehend. Captain Mitchell highlighted another section of the Herald's design. Our hull material is programmable matter. It can adjust its molecular structure in real time to absorb any form of energy or physical impact. What looks like armor is actually a dynamic defense system that adapts to whatever hits it. That's why the Vorthon weapons had no effect, Lisa realized. Their plasma beams were converted to useful energy and stored in our power systems, Brown confirmed. Their torpedoes were disassembled at the molecular level and their component atoms redistributed throughout our hull. Even their antimatter charges were contained and neutralized before they could detonate. Adams stood and walked to the window again. The most important thing to understand is that the Herald represents just one approach to advanced warfare. Each of the 12 defense initiative ships uses completely different technology. Different how? Mitchell answered. The phantom can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making it impossible to target with conventional weapons. The Reaper manipulates time flow around itself, allowing it to strike enemies who are moving at normal speed while appearing motionless to outside observers. The silence can make entire star systems forget that human ships were ever there, Brown added. The echo can be in 12 different locations at the same time, all of them equally real until the moment of attack. Lisa felt overwhelmed by the implications. If humanity has this kind of technology, why are we still pretending to be weak? Because strength invites challenge, Adams replied. If we revealed our true capabilities, every major power in the galaxy would unite against us. Right now, they're fighting each other while remaining uncertain about our defensive abilities. The Vorthan Empire was becoming too aggressive, Mitchell explained. They were planning to attack 6 human colonies, simultaneously believing we couldn't defend them all. Today's demonstration will convince them to reconsider that strategy. Brown manipulated the display to show intelligence reports. We've been monitoring alien communications for years. Most species believe humans are lucky primitives who stumbled onto a few useful technologies. They think our expansion was accidental, rather than planned. Was it planned? Adams smiled for the first time since entering the room. Commander Martinez, humanity has been preparing for galactic conflict since before we made first contact. We knew that any species capable of interstellar travel would view newcomers as either resources to exploit or threats to eliminate. The Defense Initiative began as a theoretical project 20 years ago, Mitchell continued. Scientists working on problems that didn't officially exist, developing technologies that weren't supposed to be possible. When first contact confirmed our worst fears about galactic politics, the project became humanity's highest priority, Brown added. Every breakthrough that seemed impossible became standard equipment for our ships. Lisa studied the holographic displays showing technology that made science fiction seem conservative. How many people are involved in building these ships? Fewer than you might think, Adams replied. Most of the manufacturing is automated using self-replicating nanotechnology. A single shipyard can produce vessels that require billions of precisely controlled atomic-level modifications. The entire Defense Initiative employs less than 10,000 people, Mitchell said. Most of them work on theoretical research rather than actual ship construction. What about the crews? How many people does it take to operate a ship like the Herald? 5, Brown answered simply. Lisa stared at him. 5 people operate that entire ship? The Herald's artificial intelligence handles most functions, Adams explained. The crew provides strategic guidance and makes tactical decisions. But the ship essentially operates itself. That's impossible. A vessel this complex would require hundreds of specialists. Mitchell shook her head. Only if you use conventional technology. The Herald's AI is more intelligent than most organic species. It can monitor and control millions of systems simultaneously while predicting enemy responses faster than any biological mind. The real limitation isn't technology, Adams said. It's finding humans who can psychologically handle commanding this level of destructive power. Most people aren't mentally equipped to make decisions that could eliminate entire civilizations. Lisa realized she was looking at humanity's ultimate guardians, people who carried the responsibility for species' survival on their shoulders. The casual way they discussed technology that could reshape reality suggested they had long ago moved beyond normal human concerns. What happens now? Do you just disappear again until the next crisis? We continue our mission, Adams replied. 12 ships monitoring thousands of potential threats, ready to intervene when humanity's survival is at stake. And if word of today's engagement doesn't convince our enemies to back down, then they'll discover that the Herald was actually one of our less impressive ships, Mitchell said with a cold smile that made Lisa grateful these people were on humanity's side. 3 hours after the Herald departed Kepler Station, the first priority transmissions began reaching major alien capitals across the galaxy. Admiral Kyle Patterson, now a prisoner aboard one of the surviving escape pods, found himself being interrogated by his own intelligence service about what he had witnessed. "Describe the engagement again," demanded General Vorth, the Vorthan Empire's military intelligence chief. His gray face showed deep concern as he studied Patterson's report through the communication link. 12 dreadnoughts destroyed in 4 minutes by a single human vessel, Patterson repeated, his voice still carrying traces of shock. Their weapons absorbed our entire barrage without taking any damage. Our most powerful attacks simply vanished when they hit their hull. That's impossible. Human technology is decades behind our own. I saw it happen, General. Whatever the humans have been building in secret, it's far beyond anything we believed they possessed. On the bridge of his flagship orbiting the Vorthan homeworld, General Vorth studied tactical displays showing the wreckage field around Kepler Station. Long-range sensors confirmed Patterson's impossible story. 12 of their most powerful warships had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. "Sir," reported his aide, "we're receiving similar reports from intelligence operatives throughout human space. Multiple sources confirm the existence of human vessels using unknown technology." Vorth accessed the classified files containing assessments of human military capability. Every analysis had concluded that humanity posed minimal threat to established galactic powers. Their ships were primitive, their weapons ineffective, their expansion limited by technological constraints. "How did we miss this?" he asked his intelligence staff. "Sir, it's possible we didn't miss anything," replied Commander Zenth, his chief analyst. "The humans may have developed this technology very recently, or they've been deliberately concealing their true capabilities. For what purpose? To make us underestimate them while they prepared for larger conflicts." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place in the capitals of 6 major alien empires. The hegemony of suns convened an emergency session of their War Council. The Crystalline Collective activated ancient defense protocols not used for centuries. The machine orthodoxy began calculating probability matrices for human aggression that had previously seemed impossible. Ambassador Kree of the hegemony accessed secure channels to contact her counterparts in other empires. "Have you received the reports from Vorthan space?" "We have," replied Ambassador Thex of the Collective. "Our analysts are having difficulty believing the recorded data." "Believe it," Kree said grimly. "Our deep space monitoring stations confirm the energy signatures. The humans used weapons that operate on principles we don't understand. The question," added Ambassador Prime Unit 7 of the Machine Orthodoxy, "is whether this represents their full capability or merely a demonstration of restrained force." This question was being asked in war rooms and intelligence centers throughout known space. If humans could destroy a Vorthan fleet so easily, what else were they capable of? How many such ships did they possess? What other technologies were they hiding? On Earth, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Director Elizabeth Morgan watched intelligence reports flowing in from across the galaxy. The reaction to the Herald's intervention was exactly what the Defense Initiative had hoped for. "Panic-level responses from all major hostile powers," reported her chief analyst. "The Vorthan Empire has recalled 3 attack fleets that were moving toward human colonies. The hegemony is requesting emergency diplomatic contact through neutral channels," added her diplomatic liaison. "They want to discuss mutual security arrangements and spheres of influence. The Crystalline Collective has activated their highest-level defense protocols," continued her military advisor. "They're treating this as preparation for possible human expansion into their territory." Director Morgan studied the strategic displays, showing alien fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been positioning for attacks on human colonies were now retreating to defensive positions around alien homeworlds. "The Machine Orthodoxy has begun calculating human threat assessments at maximum priority," her technology specialist reported. Their analysis computers are running continuous scenarios about possible human capabilities. Perfect, Morgan replied. Fear of the unknown is always more powerful than fear of known threats. The Herald's demonstration had achieved its primary objective. Hostile alien empires were now forced to assume the worst-case scenario when planning any action against human targets. Instead of seeing humanity as easy prey, they were beginning to view human space as potentially the most dangerous territory in the galaxy. Ma'am, her communications officer announced, we're detecting increased diplomatic traffic between hostile empires. They're trying to coordinate their response to what they're calling the human situation. Let them coordinate, Morgan said, with satisfaction. The more they talk to each other about our mysterious capabilities, the more they'll convince themselves we're more powerful than we actually are. In reality, the Defense Initiative possessed exactly 12 advanced ships, and perhaps 50,000 personnel who knew the truth about humanity's secret weapons. Against the combined might of multiple galactic empires, it was a tiny force that could only succeed through deception and psychological warfare. Director, we're receiving reports that 3 previously hostile species are now requesting formal diplomatic relations with human governments, her political analyst announced. And the Vorthan Empire? Complete withdrawal from human space, they've recalled all military units and are requesting negotiations about mutual non-aggression agreements. Morgan allowed herself a small smile. The Herald's 4-minute engagement had accomplished what years of conventional warfare could never have achieved. Without firing a shot at any target except the Vorthan fleet, humanity had convinced multiple alien empires that attacking human colonies would be far too dangerous to attempt. The unknown ship designation was genius, her strategic planning chief commented. By refusing to identify the Herald or its origins, we've forced every hostile power to assume we have similar ships they know nothing about. How many do they think we have? Intelligence intercepts suggest estimates ranging from dozens to thousands. No one wants to risk finding out the real number by triggering a direct confrontation. The beauty of the strategy was its simplicity. As long as humanity's true military capabilities remain mysterious, potential enemies would always assume the worst-case scenario when planning attacks. Fear would accomplish what actual military superiority never could have achieved with humanity's limited resources. 6 months after the Herald's intervention at Kepler Station, the galaxy had become a very different place. Commander Lisa Martinez stood in her rebuilt command center, watching civilian ships arrive safely at the station's expanded docking facilities. What had once been a remote mining outpost was now becoming a major hub for human expansion. Incoming transport from New Geneva, announced Communications Officer Amy Collins. They're carrying families and industrial equipment for the new manufacturing complex. Lisa smiled as she watched the ships approach. Before the Herald's appearance, travel to frontier stations like Kepler had been dangerous. Alien raids were common, and many ships simply disappeared during routine trips. Now, human vessels moved freely through space that had previously been controlled by hostile forces. Captain Jake Morrison approached with the daily security report. All clear, Commander. No alien military presence detected within 50 light years. Trade routes are operating normally. The transformation had been remarkable. Within weeks of the Herald's demonstration, aggressive alien empires had withdrawn from territory they had previously claimed. Species that had never acknowledged human rights to expansion were now requesting formal diplomatic relations. Dr. Helen Burke was monitoring long-range sensors when she detected something unusual. Commander, I'm picking up a transmission from the edge of the system. It's using human encryption protocols. Put it through. The main display activated to show Commander Nick Adams aboard the Herald. He looked exactly the same as he had 6 months ago, calm and confident with that slight smile that suggested he knew things others didn't. Commander Martinez, I hope. You're well. We wanted to check on Kepler Station's progress. We're doing very well, Commander Adams. The station is expanding rapidly and we haven't had any security threats since your visit. That's good to hear. Have you been following galactic political developments? Lisa nodded. It's been fascinating to watch. 3 alien empires have requested formal peace treaties with human governments. The Vorthon Empire has established a neutral zone around all human colonies. The hegemony of suns is actually offering technology exchanges, Jake added. They want to discuss mutually beneficial cooperation in defense research. Adams chuckled. They're hoping to learn something about our mysterious capabilities while offering us their conventional technology. It's quite flattering, really. Dr. Burke leaned forward with curiosity. Commander, can you tell us what's happening elsewhere? Are other defense initiative ships active? Let's just say, the Herald wasn't the only vessel to make strategic appearances. The Crystalline Collective discovered that trying to expand into human territory results in very unfortunate accidents to their survey fleets. Accidents? The Phantom has a talent for making enemy ships forget they ever intended to enter human space. It's remarkable how quickly exploration fleets turn around when they can't remember why they came in the first place. Lisa realized the implications. You're systematically demonstrating capabilities to every major power. Each demonstration is carefully calibrated, Adams confirmed. We show just enough to convince them that attacking humanity would be catastrophically expensive, but not so much that they unite against us in desperation. Amy Collins had been monitoring communication networks and reported her findings. Commander, Adams, we're detecting increased diplomatic activity between species that used to be hostile to each other. They seem to be forming some kind of alliance. Against humanity? That's what we thought initially, but our analysis suggests they're actually creating mutual defense agreements in case humans become aggressive. Adams nodded with satisfaction. Perfect. They're so worried about our potential expansion that they're focusing on defending themselves rather than attacking us. Jake studied the tactical implications. So instead of facing multiple enemies, we've created a situation where former threats are cooperating to avoid provoking us. Exactly. Fear is a powerful motivator, but it needs to be carefully managed. Too little fear and they attack thinking we're weak. Too much fear and they attack thinking they have no choice. Dr. Burke was analyzing long-range sensor data when she made an interesting discovery. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from several directions. Are there other Defense Initiative ships in this region? There are always Defense Initiative ships wherever they need to be, Adams replied diplomatically. But most of the time, you'll never know we're there. Lisa understood that humanity's secret guardians were maintaining their watch over human space, invisible protectors ensuring that the lesson of the Vorthon fleet was never forgotten. What happens next? She asked. Do we continue pretending we don't know about the Defense Initiative? For now, yes. The official story remains that unidentified human vessels of unknown origin occasionally appear to deal with threats. The more mysterious we remain, the more our enemies will overestimate our capabilities. Chief Engineer Sam Johnson had been studying the Herald through optical scanners. Commander Adams, can you tell us anything about the technology your ship uses? Even basic principles would help us understand what we witnessed. I can tell you this much. Everything the Herald can do is based on human science and human engineering. We didn't steal alien technology or discover ancient artifacts. We simply approached old problems from new directions. That's both reassuring and terrifying, Sam replied. Adams laughed. Humanity's greatest strength has always been thinking differently than everyone else. While other species spent millennia perfecting plasma weapons, we asked whether the weapons themselves were the real limitation. The galaxy is learning that humans don't play by the established rules, Captain Mitchell's voice added from off-screen. We don't improve existing technology. We invent completely new approaches. Amy Collins reported another development. Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Human colonies throughout the frontier are reporting dramatic increases in population and industrial development. People feel safe enough to move to frontier worlds, Lisa realized. The knowledge that mysterious human ships are protecting them has encouraged expansion. which was always the real objective, Adams confirmed. Humanity's survival depends on expansion and development. We needed to create conditions where that could happen safely. Jake studied the strategic situation. So the Herald's intervention here wasn't just about saving Kepler Station. It was about changing the entire balance of power in the galaxy. Every defense initiative operation serves multiple purposes, Adams replied. We save lives, demonstrate capabilities, and reshape galactic politics all simultaneously. As the transmission ended, and the Herald departed as mysteriously as it had arrived, Lisa reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, Kepler Station had been a vulnerable outpost barely surviving alien threats. Now it was a thriving center of human expansion in a galaxy where humanity was finally respected as a major power. The Herald and its sister ships continued their silent patrol of human space, mysterious guardians ensuring that the galaxy would never again mistake humanity for easy prey. In the darkness between stars, 12 impossible ships maintained their watch, ready to remind anyone who forgot that humans were far more dangerous than they appeared.